right, everybody. It is another Tuesday night in the year of our Lord 2025, and you know what that means, because the hat says it. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, www.welikespортspc.com proudly presents to you its podcast Tag Team Champions of the World. The Cleat Geek, Mike Valentine. You have a baby face, Gabriel Esprada. And we are the 643 and out guys, and you're listening to the Sportz Truth. Gabriel, my man, how have you been?
Yes, we're good. We're heading into 4th of July. Let's light some fireworks.
Oh, I like it. Let's light some fireworks. Let me take this hat off here real fast, put it over there. We'll get that back out, I'm sure, before the show is over. But, you know, I love that thing. Ain't nobody got a hat like that on any other show. So, before we get too far into this whole thing, everybody out there knows what we're about to do. We are going to give you the walk-up music.
Are you ready? 20 seconds start now. Ten seconds remaining. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, we certainly appreciate all of you jumping on board with us here today. I've got a little bit of a different setup, so if it's a little loud or something like that, just let me know. I put the microphone in a different spot. We got notes in a different spot. The computer's in a different spot, and we're going to see how this works today as we continue to kind of tinker with all this and get it all put together for us. But today, on the Sportz Truth, myself and Gabriel will talk about several topics to include over and unders, 6.5 point totals. We'll do that here very first thing. We'll look at that Steelers and Dolphins trade and find out which team's better, the Steelers or the Dolphins. We will then jump into NBA and we'll go with SGA gets PAID, because he did. We'll talk about it. We'll also do some things as far as Indiana's decisions and what they're doing. What about what the Bucks are doing and how does that affect them moving forward? And then we're going to end the show with another NBA thing. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here because I think LeBron James is ruining the Los Angeles Lakers. And we'll talk about it here in just a moment. But beyond, wait till you hear this part. There's going to be a crazy solution at the end of it. Just wait, I'll give it to you. Then we're going to go into MLB 4-pitch talk. And when we do that, we're going to talk about Shohei Ohtani and Ellie De La Cruz and what they're not doing. And if you guys like that or not, then we are going to do Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Yes, everybody, we are going to celebrate Bobby Bonilla just like he is, with a bunch of money every year. All right, we are also going to do some other stuff here. Let me get to this part and pause that music real fast. Good deal. We're going to talk about some contracts. We're going to talk about the 10 things that Gabriel and I are going to put in order when we are picking all-stars. And I'm just going to preview that for you for a second. Let me give you the 10 to where you guys can kind of be thinking about this before we get to that segment in our 4-pitch talk. Here's the 10 categories: home runs, RBIs, stolen bases, hits, runs, batting average, the strikeout to walk ratio, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and if they are on a team, with a winning record. Now, you're probably going to hear the dogs go all crazy in the background because my wife is home and they love her a whole lot more than they do me. So they're going to go nuts when she comes in the garage. I can hear the door opening up behind me. So if you hear that in the background, we are still good to go. But Gabriel, NFL talk a little bit today, buddy. It's how we're going to start the show. You all right with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So NFL over and under. We put this out on Twitter. It was our Twitter poll question here of the day. Let me get to it as we go through all these things. So there's three teams, the Carolina Panthers, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the New Orleans Saints. And we asked all of our viewers today to pick which one they would put their money on to go over 6.5. We'll reveal that in just a moment. But first, Gabriel, let's take it team by team, okay? Carolina Panthers for you. Over or under 6.5, and tell me why or why not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see a whole lot where I say this Carolina team gets me to 7 wins. I just don't see it. And I understand the argument of, well, they have that extra game now, but so does everyone else. And what that really means is it's one more opportunity for another team to beat down on these Carolina Panthers. So I'm not seeing too much of a reason for hope where I wouldn't go with the under. So I'm definitely going under here.
Okay, so you're going to take under on the Carolina Panthers at 6.5, and I'm going to go with you. I'm with you. I just don't see a whole lot there as far as, something that really is going to light my fire and get them over that 6.5 win mark. And the division and all that kind of stuff, they've got a little bit of a tough road to follow. We don't even know if their quarterback is going to be in a good night. He showed some signs last year, but he also showed some not so good signs last year. So we'll see which one he ends up being. Honestly, I hope he's a good quarterback for them and he gets them over the hump because that'll make football better. It'll make some better matchups for us. Just looking at the Twitter poll question, you guys can jump on there real quick and do so. We've had 179 people look at this poll question so far. It's been up for roughly just a few hours here, and it'll be up a whole lot more after we're done with the show. So go ahead and get on there and participate. Tell us what you think. And that, of course, is which one of these three are going to go over 6.5. So we're doing the Carolina Panthers. Both Gabriel and myself said under. Gabriel, I'll come back to you and do the second team, which is the black and silver of the Las Vegas Raiders. What do you think? 6.5, over or under, buddy?
Yeah, I'm higher on this team than a lot of people are. And it's because I respect what Coach Carroll does, and I feel like he's the kind of coach that this Las Vegas Raiders team needs now. So I'm actually going to go over. They have enough pieces, and we saw they had that little bit of a brief glimpse of even looking better under when Coach Pierce was first named coach, and then it all came swinging right back down. But I think we're going to get a little more of a sustained, better effort from this Raiders team, a Raiders team that certainly has enough talent where I think 7 wins would be doable.
All right, going to put up some of these comments here that we are getting real quick. A couple of them are a little bit more notated towards me for some other people that I work with, but, hey, let's look at what our buddy here says. If we're ever in a gambling scandal, never let the dentist get involved. Malik Beasley should have learned that lesson. I also trust the Raiders more than okay. All right. But you guys can all get involved. Just simply click the comment button. As long as you're talking about what we're talking about, we'll put you right up here on the board and have you be part of us, the 643 and out guys, right here on the Sportz Truth. And you know what, Gabriel? We are going to go hand in hand here for a moment because I'm with you. I don't think the Raiders are going to burn anything down. I don't think they're going to win their division. I don't think they're going to be in a playoff chase per se. But I say this every year, and I kind of pick a team that I think will have a say-so in the division without winning the division. And what I mean by that is they'll knock off Kansas City or they'll knock off somebody else. And because of them beating that team, it's going to keep them out of the playoffs. And I really think that the Raiders can do that this year, especially in that division with Kansas City. I'm crossing my fingers, Raiders fans. I'm tired of seeing Kansas City and everything. And maybe this team can knock Kansas City out by beating them at least once or maybe even twice. I don't know. We'll see. But I would pick them to go over the 6.5 as far as the over and underline. Now, there was 3 of them, and now this is according to MGM Bet. Like I say every time, but it's 100% true. They're not sponsoring us, but I just wanted to go to the same site every time and get everything so that it was right across the board, and that we're not picking from this site and then picking from another site and picking from this one. So we went to the same site every single time, and that, of course, is MGM Bet, and they gave these 3 teams 6.5. All right, so the third and final team are the New Orleans Saints, and then we'll do the Twitter poll question results here. I've got them right here in my hand on the phone, so we'll get to those here in just a moment. So, Gabriel, you've said under on the Saints. You've said over on the Raiders. What do you say? I'm sorry, you said under on the Panthers. You said over on the Raiders, and now we're going to go to the New Orleans Saints. What say you to break the tie? Over or under 6.5? New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, it's telling we get 2 teams in the same division here with the Panthers and the Saints, and I expect both of them to hit the under. So good for you if you're if you're one of the other teams that gets to face either of these 2 teams, you get 2 free wins on the year. Or if you're in the division like the Bucks, then you get a pair of free wins on the year. Good for you. With the Saints, could I have maybe talked myself into something if we kept Derek Carr around? Maybe, but even then, it's like we've also seen the limitations of Carr. So it's like, and now they have that whole fiasco and a half. I'm good. I'm good on the Saints. That's an under for me.
All right. So now we're going to go back to the Saints with myself here. I really want to go over, but I just can't convince myself to. So I've got to take the under 2. I know I don't particularly like for both of us to pick everything the same because it's not real good podcast. You can't say good radio or anything else. It's not real good podcast. But yeah, I'm with you. I can't think of a single reason why I would pick the Saints to go over. And a lot of our people here have chosen that as well. Now, this is the last one, Gabe. This is our last over and under. We've done everything. We did the 5.5 a long time ago. We did the 11.5, 10.5, 9.5, 7.5, and now we're at 6.5. So this is the last one. So let me tell you and all the other viewers what we're about to do. We're going to go division by division starting next week. I don't know which division I'm going to pick yet. I'll leave that as a mystery, but we will rank the quarterbacks in each division, and we'll start doing that next week. All right. So when you look at the Twitter poll question again, so I put on here that we're starting off the Sportz Truth tonight with the over and under NFL win totals from the 2025 season. According to according to @BetMGM, the 3 teams that are at 6.5 were the Carolina Panthers. I use their hashtag keep pounding. Raider Nation, which is their big hashtag. I use that for them. And then the Saints just have a hashtag of Saints. So I asked you to be part of the show and pick the one team that you would pick that will go over. This is surprising to me, actually. You and I each picked the Raiders, but only 23% of the people on our poll picked the Raiders. 38% picked the Panthers, and 38% picked the Saints. So most everyone on our poll so far is going against us, and they are picking either the Panthers. Yeah, I see that face of yours. They are picking. It's worse than usual. They are picking either the Saints or the Panthers to go over the 6.5 instead of the Raiders. Now, personally, I wouldn't do that, but that's why I put the Twitter poll question out there. You guys can continue to vote on that, as it will be up for another roughly 21 hours or so. So go ahead and go to that, be part of the show, pick it, and we'll put some other Twitter polls out there as the week unfolds, and we'll do some more stuff as well. So just talking about teams that are over and under right at the moment, the team that I personally think their stock has just bottomed out, especially with this trade that happened just a couple days ago, is the Miami Dolphins. I would definitely pick the under now on the Miami Dolphins because that under, according to uh, MGM Bet, is 8.5 for the 2025 season. So I would definitely go under as far as the Miami Dolphins goes. Here's a question for you, Gabe. We're going to focus on the Miami Dolphins for a moment. We'll focus on the Pittsburgh Steelers here in just a second. And then we're going to talk about who we think is going to sign a multi-year contract first. And we'll do 3 different choices here. This will be a fun few segments here for us in our NFL 4 down territory. So of the 32 teams, is Tua Tagovailoa in the top half? Is he in the top 16 quarterbacks in the NFL? What do you think, Gabe?
I don't want to do it necessarily right now, although we could, I guess. But I think I would be able to come up with 16 quarterbacks that I'd rather have over Tua, and that's even taking into consideration, injury history and injury scare, and in his case, the concussion. One more hit, and oh my God, you need to stop with all these receipts from past years, my guy. It's a new year. But even if you were to take that into consideration and just pretend that he's going to be fully healthy, I don't. I think he's the kind of quarterback. He'll look good in September, October, but once we get into November, December, it just falls off a cliff. So even assuming full health, I think I'd probably be able to come up with 16 quarterbacks fairly easily.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some more stuff with Tua as this segment kind of goes along here for a moment. But let's focus on their coach right now, because I think this is an interesting question. I'm going to plug our guy Cheese that we also have on the show sometimes. He has a really good YouTube channel there, Football with Cheese, Cheez is how you spell that to get to his channel. Go up there, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications and all that stuff, just like you can for us, right? I mean, we have a YouTube channel as well. Some of you are tuning into it right now. We appreciate it. Our YouTube is the 643 and Out Pod. You can, of course, go there, subscribe to us, keep building our channel as we're trying to hit that notification or hit the bell for notifications. There we go. That's what I wanted to say. And make sure you never miss a video, because I'm doing some stuff. Gabriel's doing some shorts for us. And then I'm also going to be doing 2 things this week, and I'll preview that later once we get to the MLB section as to what I'll be doing. So, yes, we will be doing all of those things. You can go over to ours and Cheese's channel. He made this point, and I wanted to bring it up to you, Gabe. Will Mike Macdonald be the Dolphins coach in 2026?
I think there's a real good chance where we say no, where that doesn't happen. Kind of similar to Tua, and that's not an accident, because Coach McDaniel, he handpicked Tua. He has this almost, he put it on himself where he said, my job is going to be tied to Tua Tagovailoa. That's his decision that he made. And I'm saying all this to now indicate he's kind of married himself, in that regard, to this quarterback relationship. And I think we've seen the extent of it. I think we've seen its heights. And there is no one has any reasonable hope of their being able to win a playoff game. It'll be something if they just make the playoffs. So we'll see.
So just to give you some details on his contract, he signed through 2028. There's some conflicting reports out there because the Dolphins never actually put out there how much money he's making per season, and a lot of teams do that with their coaches. So it's between $3.5 and $4.5 million annually. So it just kind of depends on which publication you read as to what you think he's making right at the moment. So yeah, it's an interesting question, because I'm with you. In fact, I don't think he's going to be there at all. I'll be lucky. I think he'll be lucky if he makes it through the season, because I don't think Miami is going to be very good as far as that part goes at all. So, like I say, to go ahead and comment on us. We got several comments that are coming in through here as we jump over the 20-person mark live with us. We certainly appreciate it. You can read those, put that up there on the screen, take that back down, and wait for our next one that I'm sure will be forthcoming here. But Gabe, the Dolphins have mismanaged the cap and they've mismanaged their draft, right? This year, I don't know if you know this or not. I didn't put this on your notes. This is some stuff that's on kind of my stuff on the side, right? So no player got a contract greater than $6.25 million the entire offseason per year. And that was actually guard James Daniels. So he was the biggest contract signing that they did in the offseason. And in the first 142 players in the draft, the Dolphins had 2 picks. That's all they had. So, I mean, if you're not going to sign a whole lot of free agents, then you should probably build yourself up through the draft and vice versa. And to be honest, the Dolphins mismanaged both because they did neither. All right, so let's go to question number 3 here, or as we put it on our notes, number C. Tua threw the ball 20 yards or more, 6% of the time last season. How much do you think that needs to increase in order for them to win the majority of their games?
Yeah, that's the thing in this Coach McDaniel offense. They look for the deep ball. That's the thing. But they tend to then end up settling for a pass that doesn't make it past the line of scrimmage, or for a screen or something of that nature. And so I think part of it has to do with the concussion concern, right? If you're looking to make the deep ball, that means that the protection has to hold up for that much longer. And I think that in that sense, they're kind of trying to protect Tua by saying, hey, let's just get it out. So I don't know about an amount of how much it needs to go up by, but I would say more so than that, the philosophy in general. We don't necessarily need 20-yard plus deep bombs, but somewhere between that 8 to 10 range, I think should be doable, should be feasible for an NFL offense, particularly when you're Coach Mike McDaniel and your calling card is offense and the passing game. I would think that number would have to go up then. Okay.
So I would just tell you again the stuff that I have on the side that I didn't put on yours per se. But Tua Tagovailoa had the lowest mark of any quarterback going down the field with greater than 100 attempts. So he was dead last in the league as far as that percentage of going over 20 yards or more. And I really do. I think that has to change. But I also think, and here's a follow-up question for you, is he scared of getting hit again? I mean, is he just like going back there, 3-step drop, throw it over the middle, curl routes, stuff like that, so that, I mean, I don't blame the guy for being scared of getting hit, but do you think that has anything to do with the fact that he's not throwing over 20 yards down the field?
Oh, yeah, I think it's very much intentional. And sometimes it's not even 3 steps. He gets the snap and he automatically looks for that wide bubble screen. So and I view it as an attempt of they're trying to protect him. So yeah, that's why, right? You could live if the average pass amount was within that like 7 to 12 range, right? You're basically at a first down then. You could live with that. But to be so reliant on the quick game to this extent, defenses tee off of that, and it's leading to nowhere fast.
Right. So, I'm looking at these comments as they're coming in here and everything else. We'll get them all up here. There we go. Yes, it is his choice. I certainly agree. So
Sure.
I'd probably be scared of getting hit too, to be honest, if I was in the concussion protocol and stuff that Tua had. So I'm not blaming the guy by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just thinking that's a deterrent to their offense. So I think they have to rebuild this offensive line. And that's one of the big things they need to do, and they're just not doing it right at the moment. So I wonder if they're going to start trading off everybody and rebuilding around the offense and the defensive line. They actually have upped the defensive line here in the past couple 3 drafts. But let me dig into this a little bit deeper with the final question that I've got for you here. So, Gabe, Tyreek Hill had 112.4 yards per game in 2023. But in 2024, you ready for this? He only had 56.4 yards a game. That's almost half. Hill didn't catch a pass over 30 yards after week 1. Two huge problems for a guy that relies on speed. So I'm going to take this dive a little bit deeper here. I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to tell you my answer right now and see if you're going to agree with me or disagree with me. I'm going to say yes. And here's the question. Will Tyreek Hill be traded at the NFL trade deadline and they try to get some other offensive help or other offensive line or defensive line help for this team?
I think they should. I also think Coach McDaniel, he's been stubborn to this point about what he views as best. And I bet you from his perspective, there isn't much of a hell of a reason to change that now. Listen, we saw what they did on the other side of the ball with Jalen Ramsey. So in some ways, there's an equivalency there. But because this is Coach McDaniel's side of the ball, I have a feeling that we're going to see Tyreek Hill kind of waste a few more of his prime years here in Miami.
Okay. Like I said, I think he's going to get traded. And if I'm Miami, I just start trading off all the pieces that are there right the moment that are into that win now mode, because I don't think Miami's in a win now mode right now. I think they're building for the future that's 3 to 4 years away. So why keep a guy like Tyreek Hill around? And by the time you get to where you need to be, he's going to be on a walker going over the middle of the field. So let's trade him off now and see what we can get for him. So that was the half of that trade, right? Of course, the Miami Dolphins and the Steelers got together. You had Jalen Ramsey and their tight end go across to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh traded Micah Fitzpatrick back over to the Dolphins. In that trade, there was like a pick swap in there too, but nothing major. One of them moves up from the 7th to the 5th round or something such as. So that's almost insignificant as far as that part goes. But let's find out if the Steelers did any better here. That's what we're going to do here for just a moment. Which is better, Gabe, as we start talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their side of this trade? This will be an interesting conversation for us, because I'm a Bengals guy. So let's dive into this, right? So now, which is better, do you think? The Steelers quarterback room now, the cornerback room now, or is it still the Bengals wide receiver room? Which room is better now that Pittsburgh has made this trade?
I mean, yeah, if you have to go with the room as a whole, you'd have to still put the Cincinnati Bengals on top. And especially if we're gonna put in the Pittsburgh quarterback room, I have about as much hope in that as I do in my neighbors not shooting off fireworks right now 3 days before the 4th of July. Like, it's just not going to happen. You can wish all you want, but it's not going to come to fruition. So does the secondary get a little bit of a boost? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But I would still say, if we're talking about which one's better, I wouldn't. If they've closed the gap, it's not enough to where you now say the Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver core is worse than that Pittsburgh secondary. I don't think you could say that.
I mean, I'm going to be the guy who may come out and argue with you here a minute. I understand that Cincinnati has two of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, I think everybody pretty much understands that. That's what they're banking on, with Joe Burrow behind there, throwing the ball out there and hoping those guys get it. But you've got Joey Porter Jr., you've got Jalen Ramsey, and you have Darius Slay. Remember, they got him in the offseason too. So you've got three above average cornerbacks out there. I mean, you've got to think this was the reason why they made this deal, was having the Bengals in mind as far as a playoff spot or, in the same division with them and things like that, right? That's why they did this, right?
Yeah, no, it's a Pittsburgh move for sure. That's Coach Tomlin's, that's Pittsburgh's bread and butter right there. And they're gonna win the physicality battle, or at least that'll be their aim. And so I absolutely like the move overall. But Jalen Ramsey isn't also quite what he once was either. Let's not forget that. And Darius Slay, he can be a little hit and miss, as all corners can be. So it's not necessarily a slight on them. But I just know what I'm getting from the Cincinnati Bengals. Even in an atrocious season, we know that those names are going to produce up in Cincy.
Right. And I'm not going to throw any kind of party for the Steelers because I can't stand the Steelers. So um, we'll talk about the Steelers a little bit more as we continue to go. And then we're also going to talk about them because they're going to have one of our choices here in just a moment. Who will be signed to a multi-year contract first? Let me tease everybody a little bit. Here are the three choices. You guys can chime in here once we get to that spot. But here they are. Who's going to get signed to a multi-year contract extension first? One of them, Micah Parsons. And we'll get to the other two in just a moment. Did the targets for Aaron Rodgers get better? Did they get worse? Or are they about the same with Fitzpatrick going to Miami and their cornerback coming over here to Pittsburgh? I'm sorry, they're tight end. I said cornerback. They're tight end coming over.
Okay. No worries. And when you say that, you mean compared to the situation already in Pittsburgh or compared to last year with the Jets?
No, I'm saying so they're in Pittsburgh. Does Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh now have a better arsenal of receivers to throw to with this move?
I got you. I could say yes, but then also at the same time say not enough where now you should be. What?
We're still talking about Pittsburgh. We're celebrating the downfall of the Steelers.
I see.
Yes.
Well, he said Mike, so it threw me off. Like, what are you doing? But anyway, yeah,
he doesn't like you.
It got well. That's possible. It got better, but it's not to the extent where I'm saying yes, we have an AFC contender now. Yes, this offense is going to be in the top 10. Let's go. Let Aaron Rodgers cook. Oh no, that's the former quarterback there. My bad. So sure, I guess will be my answer.
Okay. So you're going to say better, worse, or same? I take it you're going to take same.
I kind of wanted a tweener answer. Can I go same plus?
Same plus. Okay.
Yeah. Slightly better.
Oh man, I give you three choices and you want to take the fourth one. Yeah. Buy you kids books and buy you kids books, and all you guys do is eat the covers. So, how about this? Which quarterback will throw the most touchdown passes this season? Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, or all the quarterbacks combined? It's probably going to be under center for the Cleveland Browns. So we'll give you those four choices. You got Lamar, you got Aaron, you got Joe, or you got all of the quarterbacks that's going to be in the Brown system there. Which one do you think is going to throw the most touchdown passes this year?
It's great that you said four because that's also how many are going to be throwing a pass for the Cleveland Browns this year. So that's
probably so.
That's actually quite nice. That's a good question, and this is my big thing with Aaron Rodgers is he may very well end up topping the list. But it's because he has a knack of the team. We saw this in New York all of last year. The team would fall behind. They'd feel a rally within them, deep within their spirits. And then Buddy would throw like 3 touchdowns in the equivalent of garbage time. It was in the second half, so technically it wasn't quite garbage time yet, but the game was well out of hand. So for me, I view it as garbage time. So could we see that again? Aaron Rodgers last year, and Pittsburgh, they're not going to be a team that gives up. Say what you will about them. They're going to be a team that fights till the end. We could end up seeing that. Then but if not, then I think you have to go back to the previous question and look at who Joey Burrow is throwing the ball to. And we know Zach Taylor, he hasn't seen a 50 pass attempt game that he hasn't liked yet. Coach Zach Taylor is gonna make sure Joey Burrow gets his money's worth in that department. So, if you're playing it safe, go Joey.
Okay, I like that answer because I want Joey to throw for a bunch. So we're good. Fourth question here. for you and everybody else, right? Who will be signed to a multi-year contract first? As we do our last thing here in NFL four-down territory, we're going to go to the NBA four-point play here in just a moment. Who'll be signed to the multi-year contract first? We teased you guys. Micah Parsons is one of them. The second one of three that we're going to look at, Trey Hendrickson. And the third one, TJ Watt. So who's going to get signed to a multi-year contract first? Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt. What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, this is one where I don't have any semblance of a gauge whatsoever. I can make a great case as to why each three of these guys will not be the first. That is such an easy case to make with all three because of these really odd situations that are unfolding. But if I have to pick one, I'll say Micah Parsons, and then I'll immediately say why it won't be him. It's just such an un-Jerry Jones thing to do. As of late, what he really enjoys doing for whatever reason is letting everyone else get their deals done, and then him being the last person now having to pay top of the dollar market. But to me, it seems like because with the TJ Watt situation with Trey Hendrickson, to me now it just seems like those are a little bit more of a barrier in terms of getting a deal done, where I'm gonna give the slightest of edges to Micah Parsons, but it's up in the air, and that's fine if you want to say TJ, that's fair enough, but we're seeing how that situation's unfolding in front of our eyes. To me, it doesn't look like it's getting resolved anytime soon.
Right. I'm going to pick Trey Hendrickson just because I think it's going to be the easiest one to get to. I mean, it's not going to be a 7 or 8 year deal. It's going to be a 2 to 4 year deal or anything, something like that. So, yes, he's going to want money, and I don't blame him. Man had more sacks last year than anybody else. But I think that's going to be the first one that will get done. We got a couple more questions on these guys here. We're going to go with those real quick as well. Sure. So, Gabe, not just which one will be the first one to get done, how about which one will be the most expensive of the three? Total overall contract. Which one will get the most money when they sign their next multi-year deal?
I'm going to say Parsons because that would be right in line with Jerry Jones. Hold out to pay the most.
Yeah, it's not a very good strategy. You think he'd be a better businessman than that, but you're 100% right, and he is probably going to get a ton of money, and I don't blame him. But here's the thing, and I don't think Trey is in this conversation at all as far as this part goes, because I don't think he's going to get a long-term contract, like I said a second ago. But I do think TJ is going to get a long-term contract, and just wait till you figure out about the NBA and their length of contract and their new CBA. There's some crazy stuff that you're going to learn. We're going to teach you some stuff here today, people, as we get into our NBA 4-point play here in just a moment. So it's kind of between Micah Parsons and TJ Watt as to who's going to get the most money. Only because you've got a quarterback in Dallas that's making a ton of money. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to afford to pay Parsons all that money. So I'm going to go with TJ, saying that, they're going to have a rookie quarterback because this will be Aaron Rodgers' final year. They'll go out and get a quarterback that's not going to cost them a ton of money. So therefore, they'll look at all of those things, and they will think that they can pay TJ Watt the amount of money that he deserves, or honestly, maybe even a little more. Here's our final question in the NFL 4-down territory here, as we're looking at multi-year contracts and things of Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson, and TJ Watt. Here's that question. Who means more to their team overall? Micah in Dallas, Trey in Cincinnati, or TJ in Pittsburgh? Who means the most to their team?
I'm going to say TJ. I think it's no longer that, but you think of the Steelers, you think of the Iron Curtain defense, you look at what TJ's meant there for that city. Dallas, they'll be fine. Like they have the star. They have the logo, their logo. Like they are very comfortable of shifting to the next person. But where TJ feels like he is a part of Pittsburgh. And now can you say the same about Trey? Sure. But certainly a lot more of the accolades is on the offensive side of the ball. And then they just haven't had they're coming off of not a good year. Where Pittsburgh, they're gonna be in the playoff hunt. And I don't you know what I mean? It's like, okay, you paid Trey and now you might struggle again to go to 500 again. I don't foresee it to be quite that bad, but if that were to happen, no one would be shocked. It'd be like, okay, shocker. The Bengals have Trey Hendrickson and no one else on defense, but and a great offense, right? That's kind of how we'd be talking. Where with Pittsburgh, it's like TJ Watt, he isn't the defense because there are a lot of players. But if you say Pittsburgh Steelers right now, TJ Watt is instantly who comes to mind.
Okay. So for once, I'm going to agree with this crazy guy.
Oh no.
Yeah, I am. I think Hendrickson needs to be there because I couldn't have. Well, I could say it a little better, but I'll use the line that's right here. Right, he's literally the Bengals defense. Yeah, they don't have a whole lot else. They have got to sign him. They've got to bring him on board. Absolutely, they've got a great offense, but if they don't get something on their defensive line, I mean, they've gotten better at stopping the run, but they don't have much of a secondary. They don't have much of a line. Poor Joe is going to be running for his life. And if they don't get Trey Hendrickson in there, because when you've got a good guy on the outside that can rush the quarterback, not only does that do some things with their offense that rushes people, it makes you make mistakes, it makes you make turnovers and all kinds of other things. So Trey is really, really important, and he needs to be signed more than anybody else there. Now, I get what you said, and if the question was which one is the bigger one towards someone's reputation, yeah, I would give it to TJ and the Steelers because of the reputation that Pittsburgh has, and everything else. So I just want to say that I agree with you again, sir, because we all know you're crazy. So there you go. You've got that as well, buddy. So thank you very much for yours and everyone else's comments as we go through our NFL section there. We're going to jump into the NBA here in just a second, and let's do it with a little bit of music. All right, we're going to jump into NBA talk here. We got some questions here. I'm not sure if we're going to get to 4, but we got a lot of things that we're going to do on just a couple of these questions here. So we're gonna not string it out necessarily, but we're going to give you a lot of stuff here with everything that we got going on. All right. So the first thing that we're going to look at, let me bring this up because I believe I've got a banner for it, and we do. Yes, SGA gets PAID. He certainly did. So he gets a 4-year, $285 million contract. He will be with Oklahoma City through the 2030-31 season. And here's his breakdown of how his contract goes. So 38 this coming season, 40 the season after that, and the next two, those are for those two. And then as he gets the new extension that he just signed, it starts off at 63 and it ends at 78 per season. So, yes, he got paid. 71.25 annual salary is the highest annual salary in NBA history. So it's a real simple question, buddy. Did Oklahoma City overpay for SGA?
I'm going to say no, because I bet you what will happen is this is this is going to be like where someone random resets the market in the NFL, like a Geno Smith. It's like, and I forget if it was he or someone else, but someone equivalent like Geno Smith, he really set the market. Oh my goodness. Except in this case, the person resetting the market is an MVP. And so this is a Oklahoma City Thunder team that they have a lot of flexible options anyway. I don't know why we pretend with this business with the cap and the various levels of the tax anyway, because we know it's going to raise. So by the time we're talking about 2028, 29, 2030, I bet you this contract will actually end up looking decently reasonable when also considering, I didn't have him as my MVP, but still, by all accounts, tremendous player. Certainly top two, top three in the league.
Okay. I'm going to take this a different angle because I like to do stuff like this because I think all the pundits on those, the three-letter sports that that rhymes with smock and those four-letter awful places that just want to talk football anymore. It starts with an E and ends with an N. Anyway, those guys are going to talk about all this other kind of stuff. I'm going to do something a little bit different and give you this. 15 players in the NBA history have been signed to this so-called Supermax deal. And there are 3 criteria for this Supermax deal. Give you a second to think because most people probably don't know them. To be honest with you, I didn't know it until I looked it up because I thought this was going to be an interesting topic for us. So the 3 criteria are you have to be in the league for 7 to 9 years. You have to be named on any level of an all NBA team. And the third thing is you have to be named either the NBA Defensive Player of the Year or the NBA MVP more than once during that stretch of time, that 7 to 9 year window that you've been with the NBA. So Gabe, knowing all that, here's the question. If there have been 15 players who have been able to accomplish this since 2017, which is when the new CBA for the NBA came into effect, are the criteria too easy?
I don't think they're too easy. That's a pretty difficult feat. The main reason it's difficult is because you typically see the same people in there, and even in years where they're probably not deserving, they still find a way. They still find a way to hang around. So it's very difficult to break into that mold. Now, once you're in, then yeah, you're in, fine. But to get to that point, like, no, yeah, I'm giving all the credit to SGA here.
Well, I'm not saying that SGA does or doesn't deserve it. What I'm after here is that the NBA put this into place so that, I mean, these guys are getting bank, right? $285 million for 4 years is what he just signed. That's that Supermax deal. That's supposed to be hard to obtain. And 15 players have done it since 2017. That doesn't sound like it's hard to obtain to me.
Yeah, but look at the names. Who it's going to be? It's going to be Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Nikola. Yeah, there aren't going to be names on there where we're like, all right, this belong.
And I get that. I know Gabe's a little frozen up right at the moment. I get it that you've got really, really good names on there. But this is one of the reasons why, for at least for me, and I'd love to know everybody else's comments. You can just simply click on that comment button, like Roger and JC have here over the past few moments, and a few others that you can comment on this as well. I just, man, if they're going to get this much money, I just think this is way too easy. And this is a ton of money. It's one of the reasons that I'm not as much in the NBA anymore. These guys are getting way too much money for way too short of terms. And we'll talk about that here in a moment, too, as far as how the NBA has critiqued that with the new collective bargaining agreement as well. Gabe, you back with us, buddy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, I saw you moving around a little bit there, so you were frozen for a second, but you were talking about the big names, and I get it. There's big names, and I'll let you kind of go from there if you had more to say as far as the big names go.
Yeah, I think part of this too is it's supposed to keep your big players with the same team. So in this case, SGA that was part of the aim, at least. In this case, SGA, right, comes up and through with Oklahoma City Thunder. Now he's signed with Oklahoma long term. So this is kind of part of what the NBA wanted, where not I'm not necessarily speaking to them getting paid, but they now get their star player to stay in a mid-market level size team long term for the foreseeable future. And so that's really one of the bigger wins that people have who are criticizing the NBA of, there needs to be more parity, smaller market teams, they don't stand a chance. That's what this kind of speaks to, is that there is an avenue, there is a path for something like this to happen.
I'm going to kind of bust your bubble here before it's all said and done. So let me give you a statistics here from an account called @WarriorsMuse. So WarriorsMuse. We follow almost seven. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Almost 7,000 people follow us now. And if I'm going to use you on the air, I'm certainly going to plug you. So that's one of the guys that I got this off of here right the moment. Longest tenured players to only play for one team. Here's the list, and it's not very long. Steph Curry. They've got marked. Klay Thompson now done. Bradley Beal's done. Damian Lillard's now done. The next one is on the same team. Draymond Green. And then you've got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, and the Joker. That's the list. That's it. So, yeah, you guys are talking about a floor and everything else. Right. The Marlins' total salary is $46 million. Juan Soto makes $45 a year. I get all that, but so I want to ask Gabe a question first, and then I'll get into some more of this stuff that I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit home on here a little bit here. So, Gabe, I have one that I would like to add. I don't know if you do, but I'm going to give you a chance to do it first if you do. So looking at that and saying that Supermax deal, right? So the three criteria again were 7 to 9 years of experience, named to any level of an all NBA team, and then either getting the NBA Defensive Player of the Year or the NBA MVP more than once in that 7 to 9 span. What one criteria would you add to make it a little tougher, if any?
There's no reason to make it tougher. I mean, just MVP alone. There's so few people that have an MVP, and then if you want to say, well, defensive MVP too, I mean that's such an incredibly tough thing to get. Yeah, you listed all those players. That's probably around half the list of people who were eligible for this in the first place, and none of those guys would just say, yeah, they weren't deserving of this. So I really don't see an issue with this whatsoever.
Well, see, I'm going to argue with you because, man, if I know somebody's making $285 million, like let's say SGA comes to, I'm in Phoenix, right? So SGA and his team are coming to Phoenix, and then SGA sits out the game because of this whole load management crap that they're doing now, right? I'm thinking to myself, man, you're making $285 million. You should play every minute of every game of, all the NBA games, right? For that kind of money, you should play all the time. But I think the NBA, here's I want to make this point. The NBA also has this in their CBA. Listen to this, everybody, because I think you're going to maybe come over to the dark side with me and get on this bandwagon with the NBA. So under the current NBA rules, again, was established in 2017 with the latest collective bargaining agreement, an NBA player can't have a contract for more than 5 years, nor can they sign an extension that keeps the player with one team for over 6 years. And earlier you're like, oh, well, this gives him an out. This rule was put into place so that player stays with that team long term. Maybe, but now they've got another rule in the back part of this. They're kind of like sneaking in the back door with this, that you can't have a player that has a 5-year contract or an extension that makes them with that team for more than 6 years. And that's the whole point here. That's the reason that SGA got a 4-year contract, because he still has 2 years left over from his previous contract, and he can't go more than 6. talk to me here and tell me. I think the NBA is talking out each side of their mouth here. Are you going to?
No, what's your issue with this? So they're just putting the parameters in, right? You want it longer than 2 and you want it shorter than 6. So I don't see what the issue is.
I want to be able to buy somebody's jersey and know that I can wear it for the entire time they've been there. I want a Tony Gwynn guy. I don't want a LeBron James that jumps around from team to team to team, chasing rings and chasing money and chasing stuff that and telling me and showing me that he's not loyal. I want loyalty. I want a guy to come to my team and stay on my team long term. And if he does get paid, I won't have near as much of a problem with it if he actually stays on my team long term. These guys getting paid, what, an average of 71.25 million, and then the longest that he's going to stay is, there's a guy. The longest he's going to stay is 6 years. No. That's where I have the conflict with it. I think like I said, the NBA is saying, oh, this is a way to keep guys on your team, but then they're also turning around and saying, we don't want guys on the same team long term.
Yeah, your prime's only going to be so long. Your prime's only going to be about 5 years. So you're getting them for their prime, and it's okay to have a little flexibility after 6 years. Like, that's a very long time. I don't really have an appetite to see someone on the same team for 50 years anymore. What if Vince Carter had done that, right? It'd be almost sad to see. It was sad as is watching him toward the end with those teams coming off the bench for the final 2 minutes. Like, there's just no longer a need for that. So for me, this is a good balance.
Okay, we're allowed to disagree. It's what now. See, we're making good podcast here. It's we were agreeing earlier on everybody was the same as far as the over and unders. Now we're disagreeing a little bit, and we're all still going to be friends when this is all said and done. So, excuse me, it's good. All right, last thing on this particular subject, then we're going to jump to a couple other NBA subjects. So we know the rules now. Whether I agree with them, you agree with them, we don't agree with them, however it is, we know what the rules are at this point. Who do you think these rules benefit more? The players, the teams, or the fans?
Probably, I would say the players, because the NBA is more so a players' league compared to the other leagues. Right. So what this now allows for the player is they have this avenue to have a big contract. They have that security, right? We just talked about it, 4 to 6 years, depending. But then also they have that flexibility at the end for if and when a team just isn't carrying their end of the bargain anymore.
I like this, Roger. This might be one of my new slogans right here. Embrace debate. I like that. I might steal that from you, buddy. I like it a lot. All right. So let's jump to another NBA deal here. Let's take this off the screen because we're going to get away from that. And let me ask you this. Do you agree with what it looks like Indiana's decision is to throw away the 2026 season?
What do you mean?
So let me see. Let me get back to JC's comment. It was back here a while. So I believe, Miles Turner. So they let Miles Turner go. You got the Tyrese Halliburton thing. So I'm going to give you 3 pieces, right? So the Tyrese Halliburton effect. He is probably not coming back this season. You've also got the fact that if they trade all these players off and get rid of some of these players and basically punt on this season, to use a football term, they will avoid the luxury tax. But are they really gonna displace and disappoint their fans? I mean, they go from a finals appearance to basically saying, well, because our best player's hurt, we're not really going to try. We're just going to sell off some of our parts, and we're gonna make sure we avoid the luxury tax. And we'll give you guys a great team next year or the year after. So do you agree with that decision? Or maybe even you don't think that's what they're doing, but to me, it looks like that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. For sure, you can't say Tyrese Halliburton is going to be back. I mean, the Achilles, even with the best case scenario, um, for basketball especially, like you'd have to say minimum 9 months, and you probably just need the full year. So I think you can very comfortably write Tyrese Halliburton off. Um, and so then the question is, well, what do you do in the meantime? Do you have the core in place where you can still be competitive and still be in games? And the answer to that is quite frankly no. This was the little engine that could. This was a team that overachieved, and this was a
Mhm.
team that was able to then achieve the heights that it did with Tyrese Halliburton then really starting to come along strong. And so now without it, I think we kind of saw a glimpse of this in game 7 of what this team is like without Tyrese Halliburton on the floor. And it might very well be a lottery team. Just not trying to be mean, but this is a team that kind of needs Halliburton in order to unlock the full potential. And so without that element, it things can get scary pretty quickly. So I'm gonna defend Indiana in that sense. I think they're being proactive versus then trying to reactionary and then having to pay the tax and then potential limiting moves in the future. I think that this is one of those cases where there's not really a winning situation for Indiana. I do think that they're managing the best that they can from what's just not an ideal situation.
Oh, I'm not saying they're doing it wrong. I'm going to praise them. I'm going to clap. I mean, this. Okay, so the worst thing in sports, if you think about it, I have said this I don't know how many times on this show when I'm guest on some other people's podcasts, and it looks like, by the way, we're going to have some guests on ours, and we're going to do some more collaborating. We've got some different podcasts that have reached out to us over the last 4 or 5 days, so we're gonna be doing some stuff together. Gabriel and I love collaborating with other podcasts, bringing them onto ours, and then we go to theirs, and it's fantastic podcasting to be able to do that. Well, hello, sir. How are you? I guess we can say that neither the Reds nor the Red Sox lost tonight. So Reds me, Red Sox that other crazy guy over here in the other circle. So yeah, I know we are, and I thank you for the invitation, sir. Oh, look at that, both of you. Oh, can we come on at the same time and sit on each other's laps? Can we? Well, never mind. No, family show. Okay, so yeah, the worst place in sports to be is what Pittsburgh has been for years in football. That in between, they'll make the playoffs, they'll get knocked out of the playoffs in the first round, and then they don't. They just can't pick high enough in the draft to get themselves a fantastic player. So they pick mediocre in the draft, and it gets them to where they just no. Your Boston Red Sox are doing it this year, and to be honest, so are my Reds. I love the Reds. I love the Diamondbacks both. Well, we got these comments are flying in so darn fast, I can barely keep up with them. So I'm going to slack off on them for just a second and make my point here, but it's hard for me to do two things at once. All right. So yeah, being in that middle part is the worst part. Like right now, I'm screaming at the Diamondbacks. You're not going to beat the Dodgers. You got the Giants and the Padres in front of you. There's a slim chance that you're going to be able to make the playoffs. So you may as well just trade off everybody that you've got on these expiring contracts and see what you can get for them. I also can't stand the MLB teams who make 2 or 3 little fringe moves and think that's going to get them to the promised land. No, you either sell it off or you go for it. And man, I'm applauding Indiana. They're saying, you know what? There's a really slim chance that we can make the playoffs this year. So we're just going to do it this way, and we're going to build for the future. And I think that's 100% what they should do. Now let's go to the Bucks for a moment. As I'm sure you and most of our fan base out here has seen, the Bucks waived Damian Lillard, but they will have the way this all works, and I'm not going to try to explain the stretch and everything else. I kind of had notes all written out, and I was like, nah, let's just do it this way. So they're going to have a $22 million hit on their salary cap for the next 5 seasons because they released him. How will that affect them moving forward for the next 5 seasons, Gabe?
I don't like this at all. And it's not that maybe moving on from Dame was or wasn't the right decision. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's more that we know that their championship window has come and gone. And now, what do they what can you point to? What can you look at and say, well, this is what they're now going to be able to build around? I just there it was a fun story. And so for me, this is just kind of that final indicator of them just waving the white flag and saying, okay, well, we're far closer to entering a rebuild mode, despite us having Giannis than anything else.
All right, so JC brings up a good point here. So they waived Dame. They're going to do all this money, and they're basically doing it so that they can bring Miles Turner in. Is Miles Turner going to be enough of a NBA person to take this team to the promised land?
No. No.
Yeah, we'll get to this one here in just a second because that's going to be the next one. But let's put this up here. At least the Nuggets are making moves that make sense. I'm sorry, Gabe. Am I boring you, buddy? You okay over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. So here's the fourth question on this topic. He is signed through the 2027-2028 season, and he would be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Will Giannis, because I can only say Antetokounmpo once or twice during the whole segment here, so I don't want to bite my tongue, right? So will he ask for a trade before his current contract is up, which again is in the 27-28 season?
Good chance. Very good chance of it. So him, it's a little harder to predict because he has always said how he loves Milwaukee, wants to stay in Milwaukee, et cetera, et cetera. But we also see how fleeting that type of feeling and sentiment can be. So it honestly would not surprise me whatsoever. It's certainly something to stay and remain on the lookout for, in my opinion.
Okay. And just so we put a nice little bow on the top of all of this, since winning the championship in 2021, since the Bucks won a championship in 2021, they have had one playoff win and 3 head coaches. Shows you where the Bucks have been for the last few years, and that might be the reason all in itself why Giannis ends up wanting a trade and trying to get out of there. So I think it'll be interesting to see if that happens. But let's go away from the NBA for a moment. Actually, we'll come back to the NBA. Very last thing, because I'm going to do a little bit of a rant here in a minute as we end everything out, because I think LeBron James is ruining the Lakers, and then there's going to be a big surprise at the end of this whole thing. I'll tell you both here in just a moment. But let's get to our MLB 4-pitch. All right, so today on our 4-pitch talk, the third of the 3 segments that we're doing right now, and I want to thank everybody for jumping on board with us. We are up to number 2. We follow, actually, I shouldn't say we follow, about 7,000 people follow us now, almost 7,000, just a few under it. Get us up to 7,000 before the next Sportz Truth next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7 Central, and 9 on the East Coast, where Gabriel resides in New York City. So we are up to 3 right at the moment. We certainly appreciate that, and we thank you very much for it. We got some comments that we got to get to here in a moment, and we're also going to do MLB 4-pitch talk now. We're going to talk about the Home Run Derby. We're going to do Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. And we are going to talk about what we look at when we are selecting MLB offensive all-stars. And we'll look at how we select pitchers next week. This week, we're going to look at hitters, things like that. So let me click over here to this. So we got a few NBA things that I want to get out of the way. Yes. They'll be relatively quick just so I can get everything in, because we do appreciate those people who are commenting on everything as well. We'll get to that, Roger. Hang on. I'm going to save this comment for just a moment. So let's talk about the home run derby first. We've talked about the All-Star game for the last like 3 or 4 episodes of this, 3 or 4 weeks. But let's talk about the All-Star game for a second. Both Shohei Ohtani and Ellie De La Cruz have said that they won't participate in the home run derby. So now I've got 4 questions for you about the home run derby as I put Roger's comment up there. We are barely over an hour and still cranking here, so we appreciate everyone hanging out with us, and our numbers just keep climbing. So here's the first question for you, Gabriel. As far as the MLB home run derby is concerned, should players be forced to participate in the home run derby? Because that's the player that you and I want to see.
No, I would disagree with that completely. We've discussed this previously, where there are only certain types of players that you want to see in this type of event anyway. And for me, it's not worth, risking or aggravating something just so we can see Buddy do a power hit at this event on a number of occasions. And I get the event and what it means historically and some of the great home run derbies that we've had. But we have to also concede that it's a far cry from that now. And for someone like Otani, for example, there's concerns with him. So him taking the night off and not subjecting himself to this, I'm very much okay with. But just in general, too, if there's a player who doesn't want to be in the home run derby, there are plenty who are. There are plenty of options, in my opinion. And for me, it's better anyway if the player just wants to do it and then they go out and put on a showcase. That's much better viewing anyway, versus someone who's then up there to just kind of half do it. So for me, I would be against mandating it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you have to err on the side of caution, number one, and you have to err on the side of the team. There is no person in the Dodgers front office that wants Shohei Ohtani to even look at the home run derby, right? They might even tell him, no, you're not allowed to attend the event. We don't want you anywhere near the home run derby, right?
Right.
You're trying to heal your arm. You're trying to come back and pitch for us. And the last thing we want you doing is swinging for the fences over and over and over again. I totally understand that. But what about this, Gabe? Should it be like everything else? Let me put up JC's comment because I waited for this one. Should the home run derby be a fan vote?
Players should be forced in. Oh yeah. There we go. Jordan, he's had a couple good ones today.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Every once in a while, even a blind squirrel finds a nut, sir. So we're good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have the same issue if it was up to the fan vote. It'd be fans just kind of en masse selecting someone who probably shouldn't be in the event. Now, would they get it right? Sometimes, sure. There'd be moments where it's like, okay, yeah, this person belongs, but there'd also be some weird ones, and then we're right back at the same scenario of, well, the fans voted hit in. He doesn't really want to. He probably realistically shouldn't be. That's not his strong suit anyway. And so, yeah, leave the fan vote out of it.
Okay. What if we do it a little different? What if everybody, let's say, everybody volunteers, and we're gonna look at this here in just a moment. Man, these comments are cranking, man. So what if we get the 4 participants from each league, and then the fans pick which one bats first, which one bats second, which one's third, and which one's fourth? How if we do something like that, where we still involve the fans, but it's not them necessarily picking it?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. That makes sense.
And I 100% agree with this. Yeah, because it's a popularity vote. That's one of the things that the fans bring. I like the fact that the fans can vote, but there are a whole lot more fans in LA than there are in Cincinnati, and there are more
Right.
fans in Boston than there are in Pittsburgh. So yes, 100%. I understand all of these things that you guys are putting out there, and we appreciate each and every one of them. Here's this one. Should the host team have a participant in the home run derby? So should there be someone from Atlanta in the home run derby this year? Should that be something that we mandate?
I'm gonna, I guess, kind of indirectly answer your question. So let's pretend that it's a team and they don't want their top guys in it for the reasons that we just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder now if we add this new rule that you're saying, right? You're the home team, you have to have one person. I wonder now if people would be satisfied if it would be kind of like an unproven prospect or someone who's a little bit lower on the in the road, on the depth chart, and but they're good at power hitting, right? I wonder if that would be enough of a draw, if that would be enough of an intrigue, or if people would say, "Oh, well, see, this is why we can't do it." I would be okay with that. I would find that interesting, but I wonder how long that kind of thing would last. But I wouldn't mind teams being able to go down that route.
Okay. I mean, I'm with you a little bit. This we might be coming up with something here because I agree with Roger. Yes, I remember very distinctly when Todd Frazier did everything that he did there in 2015. I also remember because the following spring training, I saw the scars on his hand. He actually ripped the hide, this part of his hand right here. I'm doing everything backwards, but he ripped this part of the hide off of his hand because he was swinging so much, so many times in a row and so violently to try to get it up over the fence that he was thinking to himself, all right, man, this is going to be my one claim to fame, right? If I get nothing else, man, I'm going to get a home run derby title in my own stadium and where my team plays. So, yeah, everybody loves the Todd father. And I didn't skip your other comment. I'm waiting a second, buddy. I'm being strategic here for a moment, okay? So then let's do this, Gabe. I've got mine. I'm sure you have yours. I'll let you start. Give me your 4 participants. So let's set this up, okay? The National League gets 4 people that participate. The American League gets 4 people that participate. 2 people have already announced, one for the National and one for the American League. And now I'm going to show that tweet to everybody. Yes, Acuna is doing it. He has announced that he will take place in the home run derby. The American League guy that's already announced that he will take place is catcher for the Seattle Mariners, Cal Raleigh, has also said that he will participate as well. So using Acuna as one of your 4, give me 3 other people that you would like to see in the home run derby. And those of you who are out there with us, there's a lot more of you right at the moment than there has been all night. We appreciate you guys coming up. I got some breaking Diamondback news here that I'm going to give to you here in a moment that does all of baseball as well. Kind of an interesting point that we'll talk about for a second. That's why you keep seeing me look over like this. I'm making sure everything's good. So who, Gabe, do you want to see National League in the home run derby this year?
I don't know if I'll be able to come up with 4, but we'll come up with something here. Now this is just who I'd want to see, or who I think like are deserving, or can be a mixture. Doesn't
It can
matter.
be a mixture of the two. Now, Roger, National League, buddy, National League. I like your other one. I'll get to it in a moment because the other one you put out there is somebody that's on my list. Gabe, you want me to give you my list first and give you a minute to kind of look up a little bit?
Yeah, I have 3, I think. So
okay, go ahead, bud. So Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to participate. He is, of course, the Atlanta Brave. It's in Atlanta this year. It'll be on the 15th of July is when the T-Mobile home run derby will take place. Give us your 3 selections, Gabe. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll go. You might recognize this name, Eugenio Suarez. Why not?
Yes, Eugenio Suarez. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
You're one of my favorite players ever. I'll talk about him more here in a moment.
All right, yeah. So we're trying to get in your good graces. Then let's go Kyle Schwarber. Why not? Okay. Right. Little Philly representation there. And then let's put a PCA in there. I just want to see him in there. Okay. Am I a bad person? Maybe.
I said a second ago because we've picked the exact same people.
No
I want to
way.
see. Yes, we did. I want to see Suarez because
No way.
he has done really well this season. It's his final year of this contract. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the near future for him. So I'd love to see him come in. I love me some Kyle Schwarber. I would also like to see him come in. Sorry, I had to cough there and mute that mic for just a moment. I'm with you, man. Give me some Philly love. Even though Schwarber is from Cincinnati, I would love to see him go to Atlanta. And again, this is his final year of his contract. So that might be one of the reasons why these guys won't do it, because they want to show out in this final year to get a big contract for themselves. And I don't really like the Cubs, but I got to give this kid some credit. He has come on strong, and I do. I want to see PCA get up there and see if, put him beside Aaron Judge and show everybody in the world how skinny this little kid really is. And then see if he can get up there. Yeah, Schwarber right there, Middletown, Ohio. See if he can get up there and do it with the best of them, even though he's probably 100 pounds less than they are. So,
I do have one honorable mention.
I'm sorry, sir?
I do have one honorable mention since we have
go ahead.
Three then. We need to get Rafael Devers up there so he can ruin his swing for life.
Okay, not that you're, not that you're upset about that or anything. I guess he was. You need to watch the Diamondbacks game. From what I was told earlier, I was looking at different people. Our buddy from Locked On Diamondbacks podcast was on Twitter, and I was looking at some of the stuff he was putting up there. There must be a play to where Rafael Devers gets thrown out by a few feet. He was kind of laughing about it. So that's a thing as well. Have you seen, Gabriel, where the fan interference guy at the Diamondbacks game the other night basically laid clear out on the top of the wall to get the foul ball interfered and all that, right? Have you seen that?
I did not.
No. You should go over to our go ahead and go over to our spot. Not right now, all right, but after the show, okay? It's on our Twitter account at the 643 and out pod. Oh boy. Yes, I am very good friends with that guy. So, the Diamondbacks have just announced that they have. So it came out that this guy who sits in the same seat, he has season tickets from what it looks like, and he has interfered with several home run balls this year, like 4 or 5 of them. And so now the Diamondbacks just announced that the guy that interfered in that ball, he is a season ticket holder, and they're going to ban him for the remainder of the season. So he cannot come back to any more Diamondbacks games. Sir, if you are listening, I will be a respectful fan, and I would love to have your season tickets for the rest of the year. All right. Of course, we got to put that out there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have something to celebrate. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Let's give you some nuggets to what this day is for Bobby Bonilla. Bobby Bonilla has not played since 2001, and he gets basically, I won't give you the exact number because it's like, this long, and I can't do all the decimals and say it all right, but it's rounded up to 1.2 million a year until the year 2035. So he will be paid $1.2 million a year until he turns 72 years old. Gabe, was that a smart contract or a stupid contract as far as Bobby Bonilla goes?
For Bonilla, it was fantastic. It was an absolutely great deal. Now this is baseball, so it's not like the other sports. Kind of like what the comment section's been alluding to this time.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment.
I mean, we're going to have to, I think.
Yes,
but you can make the case in some instances where, all right, not great, but at least X. At least they got this. At least you can't even say that here. So they did him a favor, I guess, by stretching it out and by forcing this now to be paid until the end of time. But what it does show is the willingness of some of the teams to just burn through money. So, they have this here. They have Juan Soto, and I'm looking forward to the next big guy that they're willing to pay until 40-32.
Well, I mean, the Dodgers are infamous for this too.
Yes.
They deferred $700 million of a contract. So I mean, it's not like the Mets are the only team. But let's talk about this for a minute. So in 2011, Bonilla was going to be released by the Mets, and he had $5.9 million left on his deal. Now the Mets wanted to defer these payments, and they wanted to invest it with a man named Bernie Madoff.
Good.
So, yeah, that guy. Look that guy up, ladies and gentlemen. Google that guy, okay? He has cost them tons of money. So they wanted to defer these payments and do some investment work with a guy named Bernie Madoff. So from 2011 to 2025, this contract has ballooned so bad. He was owed $5.9 million. But once he gets done and is paid at the current rate that it's going right now, that $5.9 million is going to turn into $29.8 million for our good buddy Bobby Bonilla. So it's the Mets that pay him. So yes, this guy technically pays him right at the moment. So let's see, make sure I get all of those comments up here. Yes, and yes, that's 100% going to happen. But we'll see what happens when all that comes to fruition. But my question for you, Gabe, is this: if I gave you a 10-year contract, and I ask you, which way do you want to be paid? I'll give you $100 million on day one of your $10 million contract, or I'll give you 15 payments every year of $10 million a year. Obviously, that will equal out to be $150 million. So which one would you take? Would you take all the money up front, or would you take the 10-year contract that's going to give you $50 million more over the lifetime of that contract?
Well, then taxes too. You get a little more of a break by stretching it out. So, and then for me, I think more people. I shouldn't say that. Some people are a little more short-sighted than others, I suppose. And I don't mean 20/20 vision or otherwise. I mean, some people enjoy, I guess, that immediate thrill. But I think the prudent thing, the smart thing to do would be to just stretch it out and keep getting that recurring paid amount.
Right, but now what if you don't live that long? Did you really get the money, and were you able to spend it? Were you able to live your life with it? I mean, Bobby Bonilla's got to live to age 72 in order to get all of his money. What if he doesn't live that long?
Well, he probably won't be missing that 100,000 or 100 million or 100 billion or whatever it ends up being anyway at that point.
So you're okay with it? You would still take it in deferments?
Oh, there you go. Roger's got a solution.
Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. I'm typing over here on the other computer. I wasn't. Yeah, that's true. That's true, buddy. And Roger, just so you know, if you ever come into money, Michael Valentine, BALLENTINE. Put that on the beneficiary line right there. Right there. That's all you need, buddy. That's all you need. Okay. All right. Yeah, I thought it was interesting as far as that part goes. So, Bobby Bonilla, let's talk a little bit more about, yeah, like I'm giving you that one over the air. Come on now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. Oh, man. So Bobby Bonilla's career, he actually batted .279, .358, .472 for a slash line for 16 seasons. So it's not like Bobby Bonilla was a slouch. He was a good player for the majority of the time that he was there. That if you look at it and you give yourself a new statistic, some of these things that we'll talk about here in a moment when we're looking at how we chose our offensive all-stars and the 10 categories that we'll choose from, we'll rank those here in just a moment. So from that time frame, OPS plus, which tells you 100 is league average, and anything over 100 is the plus that you would have as a player. He got 124 OPS plus, so he was 24% more than the average player at his position. And from 1988 to 1991, he hit a slash line of 284, 359, and 495. So almost a 500 and almost a 300 on each end of that. He also had 98 home runs, and he made the All-Star game each of those 4 seasons. And if that's not good enough for you to allow you to understand how good of a player Bobby Bonilla was, especially in his prime, he was second in the National League in MVP voting in 1990, and he was third in 1991, all with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I want to use this as a segue for a moment here, buddy, because I'm going to do a couple things later on this week, tomorrow and the next day, on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. I'm going to do a couple of these thinking outside the batter's boxes. And if you haven't tuned in to us on our YouTube channel, that's the only place you can see those. I take that back. That is not. They'll be on YouTube. They'll be on our X account as well. So make sure you tune into those. I'm going to do 2 player profiles this week. I'm going to do one guy who was just released, then I'm going to look at his career, and I'll keep that a secret as to who that is. But the guy that I'm going to tell you that I'm going to do, one of my all-time favorite baseball players, even though he made a few mistakes in his baseball career, and I'll talk about that during the Thinking Outside the Batter's Box. He recently passed away, also a Pittsburgh Pirate, which is where I'm connecting all these dots at here. And that'll be the Cobra, Dave Parker. So we'll do Dave Parker and another one, player profiles this week. Look for it late nights here on this channel. So what do you think about Bobby Bonilla and everything that's going on with his day?
Yeah, it's great if you're him. He probably goes out on the town, drinks are on him. Maybe he invests it. I don't know. But good for him. Good for him and his agent. I imagine the agent still gets a cut too.
I'm sure he does. I would if I was his agent. I certainly would. And yes. Rest in peace, Dave. We'll talk about his Hall of Fame induction that he's not going to get a chance to be with, and everything else. So I was very sad the other day, but we'll talk about him more, and I'll honor him in those Thinking Outside the Batter's Boxes that will appear later on this week, right here at the 643 and Out, whether you do it on YouTube or on X. And while we're talking about that, Gabe, tell us where we can get you at exclusively on your 2 X accounts, buddy.
Yeah, of course. At Big Ten Gabriel and at Sports Pulse 100. And I just wanted to wish everyone, from ours truly, to yours truly, pardon me, happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. I'm doing my best Talladega Nights thing here, so it's happy Bobby Bonilla Day. And I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew too. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, that is about as much as you're going to get there. All right, so we got 2 more things to do here. We're going to do when you're choosing an all-star offensively, I've got 10 categories. We're going to rank them, you and I both, we're going to rank them from 10 to 1 as far as importance goes when we look at how we choose an offensive player for the all-star team. Right, it's also Canada Day. Sure, there's just all kinds of holidays all wrapped up into one.
Great.
All right, got it. So here are our categories, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe you want to write these things down and keep up with us and do everything with us. So I'll go a little slower with them. So home runs is going to be the first one that we're going to consider. Then RBIs, of course, runs batted in is what that is. We'll look at stolen bases. We're going to consider hits, runs, batting average, the strikeout to walk ratio, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and if they are on a team, with a winning record. All of those things are what we are going to look at here. Let me do something here really fast and see. Yes, okay. Yeah, so let me give you the 10 categories one more time, and then we'll start from 10, and we'll do it from there. All right, so throw this up there real quick. Come back to this. Go to our banner. Put up the new one that we're going to do here. Ranking these categories from 1 to 10. And once again, here are those 10 categories. Home runs, RBIs, stolen bases, hits, runs, batting average, strikeout to walk ratio, on base percentage, slugging percentage, and on a team with a winning record. I think that last one will be really interesting as to where it falls in our spectrums. I mean, I already know what my number one is, and I'm probably going to tell everyone right now that it's not going to be anybody else's number one, but I'll explain why it's number one to me. This will be an interesting list for both of us to do here in just a second. Gabe, let's start with you, buddy. Tell me where you're at as far as number 10. What's the 10th category that you look at? Which one is the least important to you of these when you're looking at an offensive player, sir?
And it's interesting because, you can go about this a couple of different ways, and your reasoning could even be similar depending. But if I'm looking for offensive all-star here now, I think I'm going to be the least concerned about stolen bases.
The least concerned about stolen bases.
Yes.
Okay. Good deal. That's because I am. And that too. And don't act like I don't know who you are. So have a blast. So, let me do one more. Just because I like doing this. I think this is great fun. It's fantastic entertainment. You tune in when we come on and you'll know the answer. So, we're doing the 10 categories. List them from 1 to 10 of importance when you're picking an offensive person for the All-Star game. Yeah, but I'm older, so anyway. Love you, buddy. All right. I am not going to go with you at all as far as the runs go. As far as the stolen bases go. I'm going to go with runs. You getting runs is actually derived from someone else driving you in. So, the runs itself is when to give you a textbook definition here. So runs is when a base runner safely reaches home plate and scores. So someone else has to do that unless you hit it over the fence. So that's a category that's done by other people. And that's kind of the reason. I mean, don't get me wrong, you have to get on base. But that's what we're going to do as far as that part goes. And that's how I'm going to start off mine. Gabriel starts his off with stolen bases. I'm going to start mine off at number 10 with runs. Gabriel, I'm going to go back to you. Tell me what you're going to do for number 9.
Yeah, and for me, maybe I should have said this. For me, it's just a lot of what we just said kind of has to do, like for me, in order for you to get a stolen base, you have to have done one of those other things, right? Unless you're, I guess, pinch running, but right, just pinch running alone for me isn't enough for you to be an all-star. So that's where I'm coming from with that.
Okay.
And then for number 9, I was going to go with winning team, and here's why. There are a bunch of players who are having incredible years, and that doesn't make them more or less deserving, in my opinion. And in fact, we go too far the other way, where we say just because someone is on the best team that they deserve to be an all-star, and that's not how it should be. An all-star should be whatever that time frame is, who is having the better year. However you define it, as we can see, we can define that differently. But for me, the team aspect can have something to do with it, sure, but that should be one on the lower end of priorities for me.
Okay. And just so everybody remembers, yes, we're live. All right. So Flash that hat up there one more time. Thank you, gentlemen, for grabbing that for me. So your number 9 was, hang on, I was going to look over here. Okay, so your stolen base was 10, and your number 9 was being on a winning team, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to leave this up here for a second. So, I take it you mean second from the bottom would be RBIs and then home runs because that's the raw stats, and I get all that. I'm going to go somewhere a little bit different. I'm going to use the same almost philosophy that I did with runs, and it's RBIs for me because again, somebody else has to be on base in front of you in order to get an RBI. So it's more of a team stat than it is an individual stat. RBIs definition right from Major League Baseball: runs which score because of the batter's safe hit, sacrifice bunt, sacrifice fly, infield or fielder's choice, or is forced to score by the bases loaded walk or a hit batter or possibly even interference. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can do an RBI. I mean, you can have the bases loaded and have catcher's interference. You didn't do anything, but you're still going to get an RBI for that. So, a lot of those kinds of things would be what we got going on right there. That's why I'm going to do runs and then RBIs for me. I'm going to go back to you for a moment, sir. Tell me what your next category would be. You said stolen bases and then teams with a winning record. What's going to be next for you, sir?
Yeah, and so now here is where it got a little bit trickier for me. I think I'll go. Strikeout walk rate, and not that isn't significant. Just for me, as we'll see in a moment, for me there are other categories that right. The whole point is to win ball games, and you do that by getting runs. So for me, I certainly you have to look at strikeout walk rate, but if we're talking about offensive all-star, for me that shouldn't weigh as heavily.
Okay. All right. I'll save my comments for later because I know where that's going to fall for me as far as the strikeout to walk ratio. Let's go over all of these real quick for everybody who's just joined in with us, which we certainly appreciate. Home runs, RBIs, stolen bases, hits, runs, batting average, strikeout to walk rate, on base, slugging, and a team with a winning record. I'm going to do something a little unconventional here, and I'm going to put batting average up here next. And I debated with this one and a couple of other ones, but I decided to put batting average up here next. There are a lot of people, and it depends on what you do. If you hit the ball over the fence and you got a lot of power, I mean, how many guys do we know that have a lot of power? They've got 30 home runs before the All-Star break, but yet they're batting .219. So batting average for me, it depends on what you're doing and what your specialty is. If you're Luis Ariz and all you do is make contact and you hit, I believe he's hit like 3 or 4 home runs so far in the season. He's not a home run guy, so therefore he's more of a pitch to contact guy and something like that. So I'm going to do mine as we did runs, then RBIs, and now batting average. Gabe, I'm going to go back to you. We're getting close to the middle of the pack here. Where are you going to go next, buddy?
Yeah, for me here, then it would be runs. The thing that you have to do in order to get a run, we get credit for in some of the other categories, and for me, those other categories just hold more weight than you scoring the run itself because that's not the prime cause of the point. You're the one that had to trot around, and you're the one whose foot touches the home plate. But for me, the other things that lead up to that kind of take precedence for me.
Okay. Completely understand that. So let's go with that. Yeah, we're doing some different things here right at the moment. We're collecting everything as far as how do you do an offensive person when you're selecting them for the All-Star game. Let me go back up to where we need to go here, put this comment back down where it was, and make sure there's nothing else. All right, got it. And I won't. I see what a couple of you are doing back and forth. I absolutely see it, so don't worry about it. And I've taken care of the other things, so don't worry about that either. All right, so we've got, for me, I've got like slugging percentage, I've got strikeout to walk ratio, I've got on base, I've got home runs, I've got stolen bases. So I'm going to put stolen bases in it here because that's more of a statistic that is defined by a very few people in the league. I can't look at Aaron Judge and say, oh, he needs to steal some bases in order to be an all-star for me. But you look at a person like Ellie De La Cruz, who steals a lot of bases. He will get more credit because he steals bases, but I'm not going to necessarily hold it against everybody else just because they don't. So fantastic. Not a problem there. I've got that all put together. So, Gabe, I'm going to come back to you. Tell me what number 5 is for you, buddy, as we get closer and closer to number 1.
Sure thing. This becomes that much tougher, but this is cool. I like this. I'm gonna go with just hits, and it's and it or pardon me. I'm sorry. I meant to say batting average.
Okay.
Pardon me, batting average. And it's because now, granted, with all these stats, I could say the same thing. Where if you take the stats only at their face value, right, it kind of can be meaningless, depending. But for me, just looking at someone's batting average, there are just other things that take a priority for me.
Okay. I agree with you. I mean, I've already got the batting average done. So the batting average is the rate of hits per at bat. That's 100% how they get batting average. So they take hits and divide them by at bats, and that's how you get batting average for Major League Baseball. So just so everybody kind of gets the math part of it, that's what we look at there. So I'm going to go back to myself. I've got to look at this list again here because I didn't put numbers out beside them like I probably should have. Well, let's look at what JC over here is saying. Boy, why don't you write a book next time, Bubba? Daggone. So on base percentage shows the power hitting. Okay. All right. I'm liking all of that. I'll let that sit up there for a second. That's kind of funny. Okay, so where I'm at now, I mean, I've already told you that, runs are down there, stolen bases are down there, RBIs are down there. I'm going to put at number 5 because I'm just not a big home run guy. I'm more of a, hit it in a gap. I love to do first to third. I like all the little nuances of the game. Those guys who just sit back and wait and just wait to hit the ball over the fence, and that's like the only contribution they give to a team. I don't think that's a big contribution, actually. So I'm going to put the home runs at number 5 for me. I'm not a guy who likes all the dingers. So I'm going to go back, buddy. We're getting close to the top here, and they get harder and harder as they get towards the top as to what you're going to put where. So tell me, sir, 4. What is number 4 for you?
Yeah, I let the cat out the bag, but that's okay. We're gonna put hits here, and I only put this above batting average because I'm okay if someone has a lesser batting average. If Buddy gets hits, if he produces, I'm fine with him having a lesser average. Particularly, if the offense just needs it on that day.
Mhm.
So if you go 1 for 4, but that one comes in at the top of the ninth, I'll take that all day. So that's for me why I made that distinction.
Okay. I'm actually with you. We're going to match here. I'm going to put hits at number 4 as well, for a little bit of a different reason than what you're talking about here, but kind of the same all at the same time. It's a little weird here. But I'm putting hits there because, whether it's a single, double, the triples that are really hard to get in this league, the hardest thing to do is hit a round ball with a round bat. I don't care what other sport you're in. There's a lot of other things that are difficult, but in my opinion, Pete Rose said it a long time ago before they passed away. God rest his soul. The hardest thing to do is to hit a round ball with a round bat and be successful at it. So those guys, the Ichiros, the Pete Roses of the world, all of those guys, man, I totally respect them for being able to do it. And that's where I'm going to put number 4, hits. And I've got a few more to go over top of it. And This will be interesting as we get closer and closer to number one. So what are your top three? Give me number three for you, sir.
So then for me, number three would be home runs. You know, I'm a big fan of the guy who does go up there, and that's his job. And there's it can change the game. It's something that the crowd loves each and every time. So and it's very hard to do. We have a whole derby dedicated to it, even if we did maybe dump on it a little bit in the prior segment. But I'll put HR there.
Okay. All right. Again, it's a difference of opinion. I was hoping we were not going to pick the same things over and over and over again. But I'm going to go with slugging percentage here, and I'm going to give you the slugging percentage definition for a moment. Let's get to that as far as MLB and how they look at it. It's a little bit of a complicated thing here, but let's take it piece by piece by piece. So it's the rate of total bases per at bat, whether it be one base, a double. So when you look at points, and they give you the points to all of this. A single gives you 1 point, a double gives you 2 points, the triple 3, and the home run 4. So the reason why I'm putting this here is simply because just because you've got a lot more power, that gives you the 4 points all the time. That guy who gets on base, who gets in front of you, who then steals second, gets himself in the scoring position, in my opinion, is just as important as a guy who hits the ball over the fence. So it's a team effort. I love to see those. The ones who get the hits when it counts the most, the ones that are hits under pressure. And if you go to, I'm going to tell you, MLB.com/stats, you can get a whole bunch of stuff. That's where I'm at right at the moment to give you all of these different definitions for the stats. MLB has a huge library, just like Baseball Reference does. I'll plug both of those areas. I get on there a lot and look for the different stats. Fantastically done by them. And that's why I'm going to put them right there, because of the fact that the slugging percentage, you get all the points on. And just because you've got a bunch of power doesn't mean that you're a huge slugger as far as that part goes, at least in my opinion. I like the doubles and the triples too. All right, Gabe. So number 2 and 1. This will be interesting. So what is your second highest thing that you're going to look at when you're looking at an offensive player for ranking the categories 1 to 10?
Now this one's where you and I differed greatly. I have RBIs up here, and my reasoning is because is there anything more frustrated than leaving a runner stranded on third? It's the absolute, especially in a close game. Oh my goodness, I cannot stand it. So if you have a guy who can get up there and bring someone home, that's so incredibly valuable. So if you're leading in that category by a good chunk, sure, there can be a case like what you said where you really didn't do anything to earn the RBI. I'll grant you. But if you're up there in that category, you've brought some people home for your ball club.
Okay, so I like your point, but I'm gonna go back to it, and I'm not going to tear it down because I don't want you to feel like I'm doing that to you, but I do want you to understand that the RBI and the home run are hooked together, right? Because who's number 1 in home runs right now? Cal Raleigh. Who's number 1 in RBIs? Cal Raleigh. So he's got 33 home runs and 71 RBIs. Aaron Judge has got 30 home runs and 67 RBIs. Shohei has got 29 and 54, which his RBI total is kind of down a little bit. But then you've got Eugenio Suarez, who's right there, 26 home runs and 69 RBI. So a lot of it is they're connected together. I totally understand where you're coming from, but it's one of those things, it's one of those stats to where I can see both sides of that story. So I get why you want RBIs at number 2, and I put it down so much lower than what you did. My top 2 were put down on pretty low on your list, and they're going to be really high on my list. I want a winner. That's what I want. At number 2 for me is on a team with a winning record. Yes, I saw that. I saw that little kind of thing at your. I saw it. But I want a winner. I want a guy who can lead a team. I want a guy who brings a certain culture to what's going on. That's one of the reasons why I was so for the Red Sox trading away Rafael Devers. I get it. He's good at hitting. He's got RBIs. He's got home runs, but he sucks as a teammate, and he's not going to help with the young kids. I didn't realize it when we were doing our talk on it a couple weeks ago when the trade happened, but I was looking over some stuff on one of my favorite shows, which is MLB. No, I'm sorry, MLB Now. Yes, the Brian Kenny show on MLB Network. I love it. And he was showing that play. It happened the day before he got traded. He hits a ball to second base. He only ran out of the box like maybe 6 or 8 steps, and then he basically was walking the rest of the way. Like he already knew that he was going to get thrown out. Well, the second baseman bobbled the ball, and he may have been able to make it to first base, but because he decided not to run out anything, he definitely got the out. So that is just one of those things that for me, I want a winner. I want a leader, and I want that on my all-star team too, and I want to reward that type of behavior. So that's why it's so high for me, all the way up to number 2. Gabriel, we're going to be different on this because you've already said this one, and it was way down on your list when I get to my number 1. But what is your number 1?
On base percentage. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what happens. Just if you can get on base, magic can happen. Granted, I do need someone else to probably bring me home. I understand that, because in this stat, I'm relying a lot on singles. I get that. I'd rather have a single than Buddy who strikes out all the time, or we get a routine fly out or an unproductive out. So just for me, if I'd, as frustrating as it is to leave people stranded on base, I'd rather we have that problem than just, oh wow, there's no one on yet again, 2 outs and swing and a miss. So if you can get on base consistently, that's pretty significant for me.
And I misspoke a second ago, which I apologize for. That was actually my number 3 because we're going back and forth here. So yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you. The on-base percentage for me is number 2. For a lot of what you just said, let me give you the on-base definition here. It's the rate at which a batter reaches base in his plate appearances. So hits, walks, hit by pitch, all of those kinds of things. So there are different ways that you can contribute to this particular stat, which is the on-base percentage. You take your walks, you got a good on-base percentage. You do hits, you still got a good on-base percentage. So a lot of that stuff, you got to be on base in order to score a run, right? There's, it's how many times have we seen guys who can just flat out fly, but they can't hit? And I've heard it said on how many times it's hard to steal first base, right? So you got to get on base first in order for that to happen. So the on base percentage would be number 1 for me, or excuse me, number 2 for me. And I'm going to give you my number 1 here. And bear with me for a moment, all right? Because it's not going to be probably anybody else's number 1, but it's going to be mine. The one that's left over for me is strikeout to walk rate. Man, the worst thing in the world is for you to get up there. You got, guys on, you got ducks on the pond, as they like to say. And then you get a guy up there that just swings for the fences and he strikes out. I keep pillows and stuff beside me wherever I'm watching baseball at because I throw stuff at the television a lot. I can't stand it when a guy gets up there and he's got, you got 3 balls pitched to you, and then the next one you think you got to take a swing at. Why? The pitch that you get on the 4th pitch after 3 balls, you're going to get another one that looks just as good for the next pitch, or he's going to walk you. I mean, I don't understand some of the philosophies that some of these players come up with, or some of these hitting coaches come up with. So to me, I don't want a guy who strikes out a lot, and I want a guy who will walk a lot. Goes back to that on-base percentage thing. I want a guy that'll get on base, and I want a guy who will show that kind of leadership and things that a guy like Devers does not show. That's why I put those 2 things, those 3 things actually, right up there at the top of my list. Gabe, wrap this up for us, and I'm going to do my rant here on LeBron real fast. But wrap up what you're looking at as far as an all-star goes, and give the people what they want, which is more Gabe.
Yeah, just for any of this, I don't think you can just go to the top of either of the sites that you mentioned and say who has the most of this and who has the most of that. So that should be the all-star. There's a lot of nuance in the games, and as deep as the stats can be, they could still be misleading, and there's also stuff that the stats don't show. So for me, I'm pretty universal with this across all sports. For me, it's important to take as complete of a picture as possible, and not just look at, well, number one is this, so number two is this. Yeah, right. That doesn't take too much talent, or anyone can read. Well, anyone who's literate can read. So that's just my take on that.
All right. So I'm going to rant here, and then I'm going to give you a chance to respond to the rant. You're not going to see me look at notes because I got all this in this beady old ball-headed brain up here. So here we go. Let me get to JC's last comment to make sure we put all those comments up there. I appreciate it. You guys have really come strong with the comments today. Several of our listeners have. So thank you guys very much for all of that. LeBron James is ruining the Lakers, ladies and gentlemen. He won't commit. He's old. He's trying to hang on for one more title. And if he's going to get that in LA, he's almost holding them hostage right now, in my opinion. I mean, if you're trying to go to the Lakers, do you really want to play with LeBron James? And does that mean you got to play with Bronny too? Is that how much influence he's going to have on that team? I just don't like what he's doing to the Lakers right now. I think you should allow the Lakers to do what they want to do. And it's pretty obvious what they want to do. They want to do short contracts right at the moment, and they want to have a bunch of money freed up within a couple of years. And that brings me to my next point. Here's the crazy thing that's going to happen. And you're going to hear it here first on the Sportz Truth by this big mouth guy. And then when this happens and everybody's all shocked and says, I can't believe that happened, I said it first. I'll take all the credit in the world for it and might even break my arm patting myself on the back for it. Here it comes. He's going to get traded. He's going to get traded to the Phoenix Suns. Bradley Beal, that short 2-year contract, is going to go back to the LA Lakers, and LeBron James is eventually going to force his way out of LA to team with Devin Booker and try to get one more title. That's how I think this whole thing is going to play out eventually. LeBron is going to ask for a trade, and Bradley Beal will go to the Lakers, and LeBron will go to the Suns. They're only the amount of money that they'll make, the two of them put together, is only $2 million off, by the way. Go look it up. A few other things. The All-Star game. Where is it going to be held this coming season? Phoenix, Arizona. He'll want to be here. There's a lot of other stuff that'll fit into all of that, but I don't want to take up a ton of time since we're already a little over 2 hours long, and poor Gabe is out there on the New York City time. I kept him a long time last week, so I don't want to keep him too long this week. Gabe, what do you think about the LeBron holding the Lakers hostage? And my solution at the end, which will be Bradley Beal will be traded to the Lakers, and LeBron will go to the Suns.
I mean, it's something of a blink off. I mean, if you have LeBron as being the primary person at fault, fine. I disagree with that, but I'll just say the Lakers have done more than their part in any tomfoolery. Like they've always been more concerned about just having excitement around and trying to keep up the Lake Show days. That's always been their priority. So could they be turning a new leaf now, especially with Jeannie Buss out of the picture? Sure, I guess. But I wouldn't say LeBron is the one harming the Lakers. With or without LeBron, this LA team's a far distance off. Going to Phoenix, though, that'd be interesting. I think they're both clutch clients, him and Devin Booker.
That is also correct, yes.
That could work out potentially.
Yeah, and I think what the Lakers want is they want that short contract, right? They want to get out from underneath of it. And honestly, I think they want rid of LeBron right now. He served the purpose there in LA. He's got eyes to them. But now Luka's going to take that job over. And that's everything's going to be on the shoulders of Luka Doncic. So anyway, just a take that I had that I thought I'd end the show with today. And Gabriel, great show, buddy. I appreciate it. We've done a lot of stuff with the NFL. We did a lot of things with the NBA. If you guys missed anything, please go back and watch. And then tune in later on. We'll have some shorts on this that Gabe will do. They'll be on all the social media platforms. And then we're going to do some. That hey thing got me. I was like, what? We're gonna do some thinking outside the boxes. A couple player profiles. One on Dave Parker and one on a recently released football player and talk about their everything else. So I'll save the recently released player until later on in the week. I'll put some more stuff with that. Hey, one more time, buddy. Tell us where we can get you out on social media.
At Big Ten Gabriel, at Sports Pulse 100. Michael, thank you.
Of course. And of course, you know, we've been live this entire time. So we gotta do what happened. But, like we have said, and we say every single week, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that's fair in line is the baseball between the third first baseline. Before I go here, hang on, I got a couple comments I want to make sure we get up here. And we got it. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your week.